Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Bleach, chapter 620. And believe it or not, I actually liked this chapter of Bleach this week. Okay, it started off with Ichigo and Uryu battling each other with their words, pretty much. And while the last few chapters were wasting time with words, the words here actually accomplished something. What a concept. Actually making the words useful. Alright. But the way this goes is Uryu and Ichigo are pretty much friends. I mean, Uryu never really fully committed to the relationship because of the fact that Ichigo was a Soul Reaper, but they were still pretty much friends. Okay, so having so Ichigo standing here and watching as Uryu opposes him and or Hime and Chad, it requires an explanation on his part. So it's fine for Uryu. It's fine for this conversation to actually take place. Okay, and Uryu, he ends up saying that despite the fact that Yuha is destroying all three worlds right now, he's going to stick with his king because of the fact that he is a Quincy and Yuha is his king. Alright? And with Ichigo, when it comes to this stupid Quincy logic with Ichigo, I just can't, you know I don't like that. It just doesn't make it. Saying that Ichigo tried to kill the Spirit King because the blood inside him compelled him to. That's stupid. Right? It's stupid and it doesn't make sense. Alright, but with Uryu, it's perfectly fine though. It's perfectly fine for Uryu to use his Quincy logic and say, I'm doing it because I'm a Quincy. Okay? Because unlike Ichigo, Uryu actually grew up as a Quincy. Okay? He never liked Soul Reapers, like ever, even when he was first introduced into the series, when he was not an adult, but like teenager, young adult. Okay, at that age, it was only like a year and a half ago. He at that point he's even then he didn't like Soul Reapers at all. Okay, he grew up with the ideals of Quincy's, with the pride. He grew up with pride as a Quincy, and he grew up with loyalty to Quincy's. Okay, so it's perfectly natural for him to stick with the Spirit King and have faith that Yuha is doing what is best for Quincy's. Okay. Alright, so some people might think that because of the way my last few reviews have gone, I'm just hating on Bleach, I don't like it, blah blah blah. I was even expecting someone to do that typical thing that literally no one likes when they say, oh, if you don't like it, then stop reading. Well, let's just drop it, When people do, like, literally everyone hates it when someone does that to them, yet people do it to other people. Like, it just boggles my mind, right? But I expected someone to say that to me at some point, alright? But the thing is, I believe that you criticize when necessary, but give credit when credit is due. Right? I don't hate Bleach. It's just that as of late, there's been a lot of criticism necessary. But for this chapter, it was good. I'm giving credit where credit is due. This chapter was good. Okay. Now, with all that being said, with Uryu, it does make sense for Uryu to support Yuha because of the fact that he's a Quincy, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to turn on Yuha, okay? Because we see that when backup arrives, when Barrow shows up and Askin and Hawkman, Valkyrie, I'm calling him Hawkman because he looks like Hawkman, pretty much. They show up and Barrow tries to kill Ichigo and Orihime and Ganju and Chad. But it looked as though Uryu prevented that. I mean, you couldn't really tell, but it looked as though Barrow had shot down, and then Uryu countered that blast with an arrow of his own. But because not much of it was shown, it's kind of hard to tell. At first, when I read it, it looked as though Ichigo was legitimately hit by the arrow, but the dialogue after that would suggest otherwise. So I'll just assume that Uryu shot an arrow that countered the blast by Barrow. Okay. But anyway, Ichigo and them, they're falling, and Uryu prevents them from being killed by Barrow. Alright, so don't put all your eggs in the basket that Uryu is 100% devoted to the Quincy's, and that he's not just, there's still a chance he's being a double agent, which is what pretty much everybody has thought from the very beginning. Right? But both sides make sense. It makes sense for him to be with Yuha, and it makes sense for him to betray Yuha. So everything makes sense, which is good. Everything makes sense. That's good. All right. Well, not everything. I'll get there now. All right. The chapter ends with Yuha. Okay, he absorbs the right hand of the Spirit King and states that he's going to become the next Spirit King, pretty much. Take all of his powers, take everything that he has. He's going to become the next Spirit King, pretty much. Okay, which is actually good to know, because the way things have been going, it looked like Yuha was just planning on doing nothing but destroying the three worlds, which I don't know why he would want to do that. He'd be destroying the Quincy Shadow Realm place too. Because that's, it just boggled my mind why he would want to destroy these three worlds. But if he's just trying to make them his own, then okay, well, that's different. Okay, so that's better. All right, that's actually good to know. You get confirmation that Yuha isn't a complete and total moron and like a suicidal maniac. Okay, all right. However, taking the Spirit King's power is going to take time. Therefore, he will need to be protected by Hawkman, Barrow, Pernita, Askin, Uryu, and Hashfall too, wherever he is. I don't even remember where Hashfall is. He should be there. I think he is, but whatever. He'll need to be protected while he's taking this power. Okay, and Ichigo and Co. They're not going to be enough. Clearly, because Ichigo is one person. Orihime can't do crap. Chad can't do crap. Ganju probably can't do crap either. Okay, Ichigo alone. I mean, they can do something, just not nearly enough to be able to deal with Askin, or Pernita, or Barrow, or Valkyrie, or like they're just not strong enough to deal with these dudes. Okay, so Ichigo alone. Then maybe they'll find Yoruichi while they're down there. I don't know. Right, but if all of them manage to actually make it back up, Ichigo and one-armed Yoruichi are not going to be enough. So they're going to need help. Assuming that the Zero Squad isn't doing too well since Hawkman and them showed up. Alright, I'm just going to assume that they're not doing too well. Luckily for Ichigo and them, Kisuke and his group of people are going to be heading up there relatively soon. Okay, so that should be the backup that they need to take care of those dudes and then have a clash with Yuha. I want to say a final clash for when Yuha becomes the Spirit King, but I don't want it to be the final clash because I want Karin to be involved in some way, shape, or form in this arc, because it wouldn't make sense for her to not be involved in any major storyline in Bleach. It just wouldn't make sense. You spend this time building her up and saying how she's developing powers and going to see a Kisuke and doing all this stuff, and then you do nothing with it. You just ignore her for the rest of the series. That doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a 3-part saga, not a 2-part saga, and that's going to end soon. But what what can you do? If Bleach ends, and Bleach ends. But yeah, that's how things are going right now. And overall, I thought it was a good chapter. The only thing in this chapter that annoyed me was when Yuha took the Spirit King's ability to see the future and just said it meant nothing. Despite the fact that you could see the future, you couldn't tell that I'm stronger than you, or you couldn't gauge our strength, and you didn't know how much stronger I was than you. Like all this stupid stuff, and it made no sense. It made no sense. If you can see that, the biggest reason why this makes no sense is because I'm rewatching Steins Gate right now. Which, if you haven't seen Steins Gate, it's like the perfect time travel story where literally everything makes sense. Okay? Everything. The travel to the future, the travel to the past, and back again to the present. Like, all of this makes perfect sense in Steins Gate. Alright? The time travel, it's like it's one of the few stories I've seen where the time travel is actually done perfectly. The only other one I can think of off the top of my head is Rave Master. And it's not like the Rave Master is a story about time travel. It's just one arc, in one instance, where they travel to the past and then back to the present. But Steins Gate is legitimately about time travel and going back and forth and crap. So for the story to actually be about time travel and have all these instances of it happening, but yet make it so that everything makes sense perfectly, that is impressive, and it takes a skilled writer to do that. Right? So for me to be watching Steins Gate right now and then have to hear like, oh, you can see the future, but you can't actually see the future because like it just doesn't make sense. If you can see the future, that means you should be able to see that Yuha is going to be able to act in this way or be this powerful and do these things, which means you should be able to come up with plans to counter that. Okay, and once you do that, once you come up with a plan and you begin to prepare for it, that's when the future should change, and you should be able to see that and figure out whether or not your plan is going to work. And if it doesn't, then you create another plan. You know, that's how this should work. But this ability to see the future is literally worthless because you can't even change it. Apparently, the also powerful Spirit King who can balance 3 worlds and see the future can't even change the future. Apparently, that's what Yuha is saying here, which makes no sense. All right. But at the end of the day, I'm only getting worked up about it because I'm watching Steins Gate, so don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Alright? I mean, because at the end of the day, it's Bleach. Like, that's my excuse. It's Bleach, alright? But overall, that's the one thing I didn't like about this chapter, the fact that this future seeing power is rendered completely pointless because he can't do anything to change the future. But at the end of the day, I still thought the chapter was good because of all the stuff with Uryu. Right? So, yeah, I'll give this chapter an 8 out of 10, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.